Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to go over three different optics, specifically red dots here that I feel fall in the realm of a high quality budget red dot. We have the Holosun HS403R, Vortex Crossfire, and the SIG Romeo5. And so we're just going to do a deep dive into them, the features they offer, the pros and cons of each, and which one might work best for you based on the specific you need for that red dot. All right, so this is not an unboxing, but we're going to quickly go over what's included in each of the boxes. They're all going to come with a high mount, a low mount, a lens cloth, a bikini cover, and a 2032 battery, which is what they all run on, obviously. But the big part, the difference between your SIG to your Holosun and your Crossfire is the high mount is a lower, or a 1/3 co-witness, so it's going to be a little bit taller than, say, your SIG Romeo5, which is an absolute co-witness. But that's it. That's all we're going to do with the boxes because no one actually cares about those. We're going to go right into the optics themselves, and the first thing I'm going to touch on is the mounts out of the gate. Both the Holosun here and the Vortex Crossfire are sitting in aftermarket mounts because the mounts that come with these red dots initially suck. They're really cheap. It was really brought to my light in some previous videos based on some comments, but they all come with this small T10 Torx screw that's in here. They do recommend torquing it to 35 inch-pounds, but that just doesn't seem like a super suitable option because there's no additional recoil lug that's in here. Like on this Reptilia that is, or the Holosun is sitting on, we have a recoil lug that's in here for helping maintain zero and allows you to, if you have to remove the optic and put it back on, you can have a return to zero ability because of a higher quality mount. So that's the first thing that I would recommend is ditching these. They do work for, initially, but they're just not great quality. But this SIG is still sitting there until I get a different mount for it. But I wanted to show that. So that's the first thing that I do is ditch those. But then let's go into each of these. Right? They all, like I said, they all come with the little bikini cover, which is nice just for keeping your lens clean while it's sitting on the rifle or in transport. So as far as battery life goes out of each of these, the Holosun is rated for 100,000 hours. Typically when they do these tests or when they rate them, it's kind of at a mid power, not at your max. So you're going to get 100,000 hours out of the Holosun. The Vortex is rated at 50,000, and the SIG Romeo5 is also rated at 50,000, but they do tell you that you should be able to squeeze out possibly up to another additional 40,000 hours out of the battery, simply because this one offers a shake to wake. The Holosun and the Vortex do not offer a shake to wake option. If you leave that dial on, you're obviously going to be draining power out of that, but you can possibly gain up to another 40,000 out of the SIG. So obviously this one does feature a push button option for brightening or dimming your red dot. The Vortex and the Holosun obviously have dials on them. I like and dislike the push button on the SIG because it's not too bad if you're wearing gloves. You can still operate it decently, like if you're wearing gloves or colder weather. But the thing that I don't like is I have no way of knowing what setting I'm on. Usually it's kind of set it, forget it a little bit, but there might be certain lighting options that you prefer to know or like to know what that dot is set at. I know that's something for me that I typically know, hey, on a typical day, I like to run my red dot around 7 or 8, right? That's just kind of the sweet spot. With the SIG, there's no way of knowing that. There's also no way of knowing if I'm at the max setting or the lowest setting. It would be cool if they had a feature. I know Loophole does it where if you dial it all the way to its max brightness, it blinks, and then you know, oh, I've topped it out. Because otherwise you just sit there and keep hitting the dot wondering, like, is this all the more I get, or can I get, bring it back down, or what do I need to do there? Vortex, I like the dial on here because it is a little girthier. So if you're wearing gloves, there's a little more material there to grab onto to spin that. And it has a very, what would you call it, like a positive. It's almost stiff, but not too stiff where you feel like, oh, I really got to work to turn this. But it's got a very stiff turn, so you don't feel like it's going to get bumped just because that sticks out a little bit more. Holosun, it is a little, I will argue, it is certainly a little bit harder if, let's say, you were wearing gloves, because it's a lot more recessed of a dial. It doesn't stick out as much, but it's not as stiff to turn. So it's a little bit easier to turn, doesn't protrude as much, but that's just the way theirs is. I haven't had any issues with bumping it up against things and messing with that, but just something to bear in mind there. The one thing I like about the Holosun is their turrets, if you take a look here, are a little bit more recessed. So, and the only reason I like that is just if you're banging against objects or different things, I don't have to worry about the turrets themselves being damaged or hit and causing issues with zero on there. Obviously the Vortex, the top one's a little bit more protected. The side one, you're kind of counting on that the battery cover and dial to do the protection on that turret. And then the same with the Romeo, the side one, but the top is a little bit recessed. But something that I just like with the Holosun, it's a little bit recessed to provide a little more protection for the optic itself. Holosun has 12 different brightness settings. It's got 2 night vision and 10 daylight settings. Vortex has 2 night vision and 9 daylight settings, and the SIG Romeo has 2 night vision and 8 daylight settings. So something to bear in mind there. I'm gonna show some B-roll here with showing the different brightness settings for the Holosun, Vortex, and the SIG, and these are at max brightness. It was a very bright day, clear day, and then we have kind of the snowy background, that white porcelain tub with the yellow target. And just to kind of show how some of them do a little bit better and a little bit worse with that. The camera, I did have to work a bit to try to get it to replicate what I was seeing as best I could. I can say that it doesn't totally do it justice. Visibility of the dots themselves is a decent amount better than what you're seeing through the camera, right? With that Vortex, looking at the target, you almost couldn't see it even at max brightness through the camera, and no matter what kind of adjustments I tried to do to get that to give a clearer image, I could see the dot better in real life, but it would beg me to wonder how much better it would have done if I had a snowier setting, and with you just get so much glare off of like a white background, and lots of snow and things like that. So I would wonder how well it would continue to do in a setting like that. Something important to know is that the Holosun and the SIG Romeo5, they have half MOA adjustments at 100 yards, where the Vortex has a 1 MOA adjustment at 100 yards. And so the important part there is that typically, like for me, I zero my red dot specifically at 50 yards. And so when you bring that target half the distance closer, now my click value is a 1/4 MOA on the Holosun and SIG, as compared to a half MOA on the Vortex still, because I've closed that distance halfway, so my click value is half of that. So it just allows you to kind of fine tune that red dot a little bit more with these two to get a better zero for greater distance and things like that. Another important thing, Holosun has a IP67 rating, so it's almost one of the highest ratings you can get, because not only is this waterproof up to 1 meter, but it is also dust proof. So if you're in more of a dusty environment, that's really nice to have. The SIG Romeo5 is an IPX7, so not the dust rating, but you get a solid water rating. I believe it's 1 meter at for 30 minutes. And then the Vortex, so the interesting thing with this is they don't give a clear IP rating. It just tells you it is waterproof and shockproof. Fogproof, I think, is the other one. So I mean, the lowest rating one can get is a IPX1, which is like dripping water. So like a cell phone can maybe protect you from dripping water on it. And then they start moving up to jetted water at it, and whether or not it can withstand that. So the one thing that I don't like with the Vortex is there's not a super clear rating as to like how waterproof is it, because one thing that they in the manual, when it says if you're looking to clean the optic, you should just use a wet cloth. You know, if you're needing to wash it, like can't like, oh, just, you know, throw it in the sink, wash it off. It's use a wet cloth. So be aware of that this optic is not considered. I wouldn't, without testing it thoroughly, I would not consider it fully water submersible just based on what they're telling us, because waterproof can obviously mean a variety of ranges. Just kind of show you the different brightness settings on these, and so we're going to dial this guy up as high as it will go. All right, so there's the dot on the SIG Romeo5. Looks like we got a pretty clear dot through it. Now at full brightness, the camera is not picking it up here, but when I look through it, there is a little bit of a halo ring around it. Again, this is inside, bear in mind, but I get a little bit of a ring around that. With the Vortex, we'll dial that all the way up. There we go, a nice clear dot. And there you go. And then the Holosun. Now, I cannot, you can actually see the ring around this, right? When you move there. Along the edges of the glass, you can see that red ring. And this Holosun is outrageously brighter than both the SIG and the Vortex. When it comes to max brightness on there, like I said, I don't think I ever use it above even 9, because the other 3 are almost unnecessary with how bright it gets. But I don't know if I can get all 3 here. There. So you can see that all 3 of them have a really solid, good, clean dot, at least from the camera view here. And that's something that I want to cover too, is that as a standalone red dot, they all have very good dots themselves. When you initially look through the glass, you get a nice, clear, crisp dot on all 3. The SIG can get a little bit of a wonky shape to it at times, but really it is a good dot. Overall, I wouldn't complain about the dot on any of them as a standalone red dot. The issue arises when you magnify it. And so in some other B-roll here, I'm going to show them behind a SIG Romeo5 micro. And you can see that with the Holosun, we maintain a nice clean dot, clean edges, looks really nice overall. When we move to the SIG, we get a weird oval kind of shape. It doesn't look that way when you are behind it. It looks more like a triangle. It's hard to explain, but it's very odd in its overall shape and look and appearance. But the glass is still clear, which is important there, right? I can still see through it and everything with that. But when we move to the Vortex, right, when you take a look at that one, not only is the dot oblong and strange in shape, but the clarity is terrible. Now, this is I only did this with the Juliet 5X micro. I didn't have another one that I tested behind. So it could have been strictly the SIG. However, regardless of what I did with the diopter and the placement of the red dot to the magnifier, I got literally no change. It was just terrible regardless. So overall, like I said, I really wanted to cover these three because they are quite popular optics. I feel like when it comes to the budget world of looking for a high quality red dot. Important to note that all of these, regardless of which one you get, are made in China. That's where they're primarily sourced from. Obviously, they're being designed in America, but obviously produced overseas. So if that is anything important to you. Oh, sorry. The last note that I want to make is that if we take a look here, how where the front lens is, there's almost a guard over the front here that protrudes out a little bit, and you can see how much more recessed the glass is there as compared to both the Vortex is almost right out front, as well as the SIG. And the one thing that I found with all three of them as I was testing them, using them, that I tend to get a bit of a glare in the glass on them as compared to with the Holosun, because it's kind of shaded and that recessed glass tends to help with any glare that I get in that. So I just wanted to make that note. But overall, I'm really happy with them. You're going to typically find the Holosun running around that 169 to 179 range. The Vortex is going to be listed typically around 149. And now the Romeo5s you can usually find, honestly, for around 119, maybe 109. So overall, very happy with these optics as they have performed so far, and I'll continue to use them on a variety of firearms. But I know for me, the Holosun to be the main go-to optic on on a specific firearm, that if I need to grab one, it would be the Holosun, just based on the features it offers and the quality of what it offers. All right, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions or comments on any of these optics, if you have used or been using one, please tell us how it's worked out for you, what you've liked and disliked, how well has it held zero. And I think that's an important note one more time, just to note, that is why I went with an aftermarket mount on these, and this one is getting one, because if you have an optic and you're saying, hey, it doesn't hold zero, that's why I sent it back, it could be because of your mount, not because of the optic itself. Where if you have a solid mount, then is the issue with the optic or with the cheap mount that they send it with. So I think that's an important note there, that don't necessarily judge your ability to hold zero on the optic itself when you have a cheap and poor mount that it's sitting in. So that's the last note I want to make. But again, thanks for watching. Again, like, subscribe, and any questions or comments, drop below. Thanks for watching, guys.